Warming up here. It's warming up. Are we feeding out to anyone? I believe that we are feeding out to the people out there. Yes. Jen Champ says we're late as always. Uh, let's see. Okay, so shout out to everyone. I'll try to keep the intro as short as I possibly can tonight. Let's start with, please go to hankstrange.com, sign up for our email list there. That is the best way to keep in touch with us. Lola also is doing Lola's deals on there. You can go under the Strangerholics tab and find different platforms that we're on. I'm thinking about adding some other platforms. Maybe we could talk about that here as we get into the show. So, and we're going to be revamping all of that. So that's the big thing to do out there. So let me see. I'm going to leave it at that. Big shout out to Barnauls. Barnauls. Hold on. Let's see. I've got some subsonic 9mm. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Come on, focus. Camera, focus. There you go. 9mm Luger from Barnauls. Got some 300 blackouts. Come on. Boom. 300 Blackout FMJ from Barnauls, Performance Steel Case Ammunition. Big shout out to them. Thanks for them for sponsoring the show here. I am going to load my guests into their prospective windows and smash the open. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Hank
All right, guys.
Strange Situation.
Make sure that you hit that
Lifestyles
subscribe
of
button,
locked
smash
and
those thumbs ups, and ring the bell. Well, to be notified we go live. Look. Ring the bell. There you go. I'm going to go easy on everyone with the bell. What's up to everyone? Okay, so we have a new guest here, Jacob of Beachin Tactical. We do jazz hands, Jacob. That's how we do it. Everyone has to do it. I don't care. I don't care if you wore a suit today. You still have no. That's not enough jazz hands, Jacob. Come on, let's see some more jazz hands. Jazz hands.
I don't really know what jazz hands are.
There you go. But, there you go. Richard Hughes, let's see your jazz hands. All right, there you go. Jazz hands. That's it. You can make up your own. You did good. You did good, Jacob, on the jazz hands. All right. This is episode 783 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Hank Strange. As I said, my guest is Jacob of Beachin Tactical, as well as FlyingRich. What's up, gentlemen? How are you guys?
Doing very well.
Yep. I was late. It's all my fault. I was late. These guys were not late at all. They were on time waiting for me, and I was completely late. Check this out. I think Jacob is the first dude to be on the show in a suit and tie, right? I don't know. Am I wrong on this? Someone check the history books on that one. I don't know if we had anyone else come on in a suit and tie. So, congratulations to you. Yeah.
I'm the first one from an anti-Trump rally.
Oh, you're the first one. Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah. It's a win. He didn't get his ass kicked out there.
Right?
Yeah, so welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, one and all. Everyone hit those thumbs ups. We've got to see those thumbs ups popping out there. Please get it going. Get it going. Okay, so where was I? I think I was apologizing for being late. Mea culpa. You know, I blame it all on me not being able to sign into my own software. That happened.
Handicap.
Yes. So let's start out with this. FlyingRich, where are you dialing in from today? Because this is not your normal.
Hughes Compound Northern Command in the top control command center, high atop the perch, outlooking my domain.
Okay, I don't know. I don't really understand that, Jacob. But okay. We'll get clarification on that later. Jacob, where are you dialing in from here? This looks like a basement.
Yeah, I'm down in the pit. This is where I make my rifle slings. I'm in Brownsville, Kentucky.
All right, Kentucky in the house. All right. Have you ever been to the Knob Creek? Knob Creek. You ever went?
I have.
Okay, awesome. You know, this year is the last year.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
No, yeah, been there a couple times, not too far away from me.
Okay, cool. Are
Nice.
you going there? Are you going this year? Because it's the last year?
Nah.
I don't know. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Jacob not impressed by Knob Creek, obviously. And Ray Bozzolo says, why is Walter wearing a tie? Walter's not this good looking. He's not this good looking at all. Latina Locked and Loaded says, Lola, best wife ever. Hank, you're a lucky guy. I'm not sure why that is being put up there, but I guess I won't argue with it. You're so awesome, Lola. You know that, right? Yeah.
Oh, she knows that.
No
You don't even
answer
have to tell her.
Yeah, no answer from Lola. Okay, all right, so let's do this. Since we've got Jacob, he's new. Everyone knows about FlyingRich. Jacob, tell the folks out there who you are, what you do, all of that good stuff. Let's start off there. How you started doing this? What's the background?
Well, depends on what this is. I guess I'm prior military, deployed at the 173rd Airborne to Afghanistan. While I was in Afghanistan, I hated my sling, so I thought up a design for a new one. Ended up making that. It did quite well. I also started a YouTube channel, which I thought was going to be mostly tactical, specifically tactics related. And that's not necessarily the direction it went, but I just let it take me wherever it takes me.
Mm-hmm.
And I design knives. So, and I sell boutique goats.
Wait, hold on.
Doing a little bit of everything.
Boutique? What the hell is a boutique goat?
So it's a miniature goat, a
Okay.
Nigerian dwarf goat, and they give the best milk. They're really easy to keep, and they're beautiful. So they're really expensive.
Do you have
Do they
pictures?
faint?
Yeah. No. Yeah, those are fainting kind.
No.
Yeah.
I don't got any pictures that I could grab here.
Are they on your Instagram or something like that? What Instagram should we go to?
That would be the Hidden Hauler Homestead.
The Hidden Hauler. Okay, this is a lot of words for me to type, Jacob.
Is it HOLLER or HAULER?
Yeah, is it holla or hauler?
HOLLER.
Yeah, see, Hank said hauler, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be wrong.
Yeah,
You got to translate. You got to be able to translate from Kentucky.
Yeah.
The Hidden
I'll think about
Hauler.
little
What
things
else?
like that sometimes.
Yeah, what is it?
Homestead.
Homestead. Oh my lord, man, how many things do I have to spell out? Okay, hold on.
I always
Let's see.
pick too long of names.
Oh, okay. Let me go by
Because-
account. I can't find it. The Hidden.
On Instagram?
No.
Maybe it's the in there. Maybe it's it should be.
Is it hidden? Because I put the and it didn't come up.
Maybe it's without the.
Let's see.
It's
hidden.
it's probably my smallest Instagram account, so it's probably.
Oh, I
not
found
really
it. I
trendy.
found it. I found it. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna share that with the people. I'm gonna follow it also. Let's see. There you go. Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this as big as these goats get?
No, they get a little bigger than that. He was probably about half grown. They only
Okay.
get to about 40 pounds, though. 40, 50 pounds.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is, some cute babies. So these are expensive goats, these Nigerian goats?
Yeah, they're registered through the American Dairy Goat Association, and we've got some really expensive lines from people that show them and stuff. So yeah, they're a little pricey. They females now go for us for between $600 and $800.
Whoa! Okay, all right.
Hank's a connoisseur of goat. How much were your goats?
I don't know. Lola, what did you sell the goats? It depends. Not for $600. If Lola was selling those goats for $600, she'll still be selling them goats. Those goats will be getting sold every day. Now, I did live in Nigeria. That's as close as I come to the Nigerian, and I've seen the Nigerian like line of those goats as well as the fainting goats. I've actually seen those fainting goats in person. And
Those are fun.
yeah, when you scare them, they sometimes run and then faint, or they just faint. Yeah, they're yeah, I can just do that all day.
And that would never last in the wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they bred that way? Is that?
Yeah, what is the deal with that, Jacob?
Well, like Nigerians, they were originally bred for to be easy to keep and to feed predators.
Oh wait! Are you
zoos.
saying Nigerian people or Nigerian goats?
No, come on. Don't start trouble, Richard. Don't start trouble.
Wait, do you know
So
who I
it's
am?
actually
Have you met me?
no.
Yeah, he hasn't met you. See, this
Right,
is
no,
why
I
he was
haven't, yeah.
he was lucky at IV-88 he didn't meet you. Because you might have never come back from there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, they wanted them to be easy to feed to alpha predators at the zoo.
Oh.
Now, almost any animal is a fainting animal if you scare it hard enough.
Okay.
So actually, most of your dogs and other animals as well, around loud explosions and other things, will also faint. The fainting goats just do it a little easier.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So have you ever seen? You know what? I'm trying to think. Who on this panel has ever seen a person just faint like that? I don't think I. Have I? Maybe I've seen a person faint, but not like out of fright or something like that. Like you see in cartoons and stuff, people faint.
I believe I had a loss of consciousness on my first plane crash.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
First plane crash.
Yeah. Have you regained your consciousness yet? Did you ever get back to consciousness from that first one?
Yeah.
Don't start Rich down this path yet, okay, Jacob? Let's not derail the show. Okay. Okay, so it sounds like you have a bunch of stuff. You did your time. How long were you you were in the Army, you said?
Army, just 4.5 years.
4.5 years. How was your Army time? Did you?
It was well, I guess that's a little bit of a complicated question. I got hurt. I wanted to stay in and change jobs so that I could continue to be a good soldier. I figured it would be better to be a good pogue than a civilian. Didn't work out, but it was a lot of valuable life experience. I did some interesting jobs. I worked with Koist, so I was an infantryman, but I worked directly between the commander and our military intelligence to get information and up and down the chain efficiently. And I also worked with PsyOps and ODA a bit while I was over there, which led me, I actually got a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security and Domestic Terrorism. And I thought that education path would lead me to a federal agency, but instead it certainly pushed me away from any type of federal agency.
Okay. That's interesting. Did you have a question there, Rich?
No, I was, well, yes. So I'm guessing it's because your political affiliation that it pushed you away from federal agency employment.
Political affiliation, but also the way things started making a little more sense at home. The direction that I believed that our government was taking us was a direction that I didn't want to be a part of, and I couldn't be a part of.
Okay. All right.
Would have just gotten dead.
Okay. So I'm sensing that there's some things in there that you don't want to talk about too much, right? Or maybe we're not like figuring, because I thought maybe you got injured. And then you decided you didn't want to get in there, but philosophically there were some things that you, and who was in the White House at the time, or who was running politics at the time? Was it Republicans or just?
It was Obama.
Okay.
That didn't have much with getting much to do with getting out.
Mm-hmm.
It had more to do with getting a degree in Homeland Security and then not putting it to use, not looking for a job in that field. Instead, I moved out to the country, kept making my rifle slings. And it's been interesting, the YouTube channel progression through this. I thought it would start out with tactics. Then it went to knife reviews because for some reason that just stuck with me. I was doing survival trips. I went out for History Channels alone for the boot camp for survival stuff. I got involved in the survival industry a little bit. And and am constantly trying to unplug more, as opposed to originally my career path I thought would be staying within the government.
Okay, so what I'm sensing here, I'm trying to get it out of you. Was it that, like, after all these laws got put into effect, right, after 9/11, etc., and I mean that happened under W, right?
Bush.
But they kept
Yeah.
they kept to me dismantling
Patriot
the
Act, yeah.
Constitution, yeah, all those things. Was it all of that stuff that you're like, hey, I don't, this is not really why I wanted to get into military service, or this is not what I wanted to do? Did you sense like that we were losing freedom? Am I anywhere on the right path?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as a soldier, you take an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. No soldier has kept that oath. The oath that every soldier has taken is directly and intrinsically tied to the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment only has value if it is used, which it has not been, which is why we don't have any of it left. So the problem is I saw, through working a little bit with PSYOPs and military intelligence, and then learning about domestic terrorism and homeland security, how we were being manipulated regardless of who was in office. There's if you're looking for certain things, you really can trace a path towards, I'm just going to say, a universal government that goes back way further than what people would assume. I mean, World War II, World War I, it's there.
Yeah, it's
and
kind of.
so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it just not only do I have no interest in being a part of it, not only do I believe that my values would be a hindrance to me if I followed down a career path for a federal agency, but I think it would be nothing but detrimental to my mental health, if not, of course, my physical health. I don't want to get Hillaried, so I don't want to get suicided.
You don't want cankles?
Nobody. No, cankles. Oh Lord, which one is worse?
Probably living with cankles. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So Ghost Tactical says the Patriot. A shout out to Ghost Tactical, by the way, and he's shouting you out as well, Jacob. He says Patriot Act was the single most dangerous law we ever passed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, as I understand it, the Patriot Act was reinstated and bolstered by Donald Trump, and I don't know that that's a direction that we want to go down. But what I tell people, and what my message normally is, that where conspiracy theorists get it wrong is they try to give you an answer. You can't give an answer about something that you cannot and will not ever get information about. The key is knowing and accepting that you're being lied to and manipulated, and what you do about it.
Yeah. So all of that made you say, like, what, you were going to try to get off grid more, try to be more independent, work for yourself, kind of a thing?
Yeah, and really look at. I've always had a Christian mission to spread a message, but it's kind of all come together. And, if I can get a couple people to turn the lights on and to question the typical things that they've never questioned before, I want to do that. And I want to be a part of figuring out the solution. I simply have not figured it out.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's I think that's a good answer for me. I don't know, Rich, if there was anything else you wanted to know in there.
No, cool. It sounds like you're a patriot, and this was going against your values.
Yeah, thinking for yourself, right?
Absolutely. I think once you, and the bigger thing though is, as a veteran, if you want to uphold your oath, and if you're looking at the issues that I'm looking at, then when you start looking at other veterans who start getting famous, who start big businesses, who start getting political and working directly with politicians, and you see the stances that they start to take, that's when you should really start asking some questions, because what did they do in the military? Who are they working for in the military? And who are they continuing to work for?
And what side are they on, right? Like, probably their own side, ultimately.
Well, the problem is you attract more flies with honey than vinegar, right? So if someone is going to fundamentally change the Second Amendment community, the patriotic community, they have to do it from the inside. So who is working in our community who could be detrimental to our own values? And, that goes right back to 1936 with the machine gun ban and some other stuff. But,
so you're saying like the folks making compromises and things like, let's just be reasonable.
Absolutely. What kills me is the people who are really pushing that we have to be united to get anywhere. The problem is being united is great, but I'm not going to be united as a slave or under a communist nation. Liberty has to come first.
Yeah. So all of that led you, and we can get more in depth in this if folks want to out there. I see a lot of people talking about the slings, and I am going to throw up. Let me get your page.
Yeah, don't throw up, Hank.
Yeah. Oh no, not gonna do that. Here, I'm gonna go to Beachin Tactical is where you're gonna find it. Beachin, right? What's the name?
That's right.
What's the name come from?
My middle name is Beach. Actually, before getting my degree and learning some of this, I thought I was going to make longboards, big skateboards, and that was Beachin Boards. And so that name worked. That worked a little bit better than Beachin Tactical, but it's too late now. So
yeah. So here's the website, guys. Beachin, Beachin Tactical, Beachin Tactical. And there's several things up here other than the slings, but for sure. Now, I actually do have your slings. You sent me your slings a long time ago. I don't have them with me just because today was what I, technically, clinically refer to as a batshit crazy day.
Yeah. I've always got one on hand, but
right. I was counting on that.
yeah, it makes sense, right?
Right.
I believe that it's functionally unique. I keep one on every AR across the house besides the bedroom.
Yeah. So the thing that we have to let you know is that ultimately we could, some people don't like us showing the actual, guns here on the show.
Bang.
Yeah, and then here's another thing that came up. We'll get to that here in a second. We'll show the stuff here in a second. Kevin the Tac Daddy says, what does he say? Name names.
That's people in the gun community who are infiltrators.
Yeah. So do you know Tac Daddy?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tac Daddy wants you to name names. So, do you want to get into that? It's up to you. I don't,
I mean, Evan Hafer is easy. I'd put Matt Best right there. I'd put the entire NRA there.
Okay.
At least historically, if not presently. I can't say presently, but we've got some track record to talk about.
Yeah, Evan Hafer, is that the guy from
Black Rifle?
Black Rifle Coffee. Okay.
Yeah. Crap. Oh, Tim Kennedy. You get me just getting warmed up here. I've got to do a bunch of videos on. I've done videos on a lot of this, but
yeah. If as you come up with the names, we could get into it. I was gonna get into that at a later point. I wanted to get into some of the stuff that you have. We could do it now. We could get into it now. I'm not worried about having the conversation at all. Who did you just say? Tim Kennedy?
Yeah.
Who was that?
He, I believe, owns Ranger Up Apparel. He's constantly being pushed as a pro 2A advocate. I believe he runs a training school. He just did classes with JP Sears, the redheaded comedian. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. 511 was pushing an advertisement for Father's Day really hard that I'm assuming a lot of you saw, where he's wearing a tactical apron. That's Tim Kennedy, but he's a little bit of everywhere.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, he did a interview with Lance Armstrong, and Lance Armstrong's like, "Well, what are the things that you think is wrong with this country?" And he's like, "We need gun control."
Wait, Tim Kennedy, dude?
Yeah. And Lance Armstrong was like, "I didn't expect you to say that. I didn't expect you to be a communist." And he's talking about how 19-year-olds don't need guns and this and that and the other thing. And the problem that I'm seeing come up a lot, and it's actually coming up right now, it's something that's really concerning me, is I see a lot of conservatives mocking libertarians on the Second Amendment, coming off like legitimately fascist. So, and that was actually something that really concerned me about 4 weeks ago, was people like openly on social media claiming fascism, people that I followed, and I agreed with a lot of the things that they said, and they come out talking about fascism and how it's hilarious to say that a convicted felon or a pedophile or all of these other people that they don't want you to like shouldn't be able to own guns. It's laughable to say that anybody who's not in prison has the right to own firearms. And the problem is, it's a slippery slope, because if you decide where you want to draw the line based on what you're comfortable with, what you are doing is empowering someone else to draw their line in the exact same way, but in a different place. It's either a right or a privilege. And so we have these conservatives who have often displayed conservative values and logical thinking coming out against rights. And that, to be open about that, and is shocking to me. In fact, one of my most popular business shirts that I used to sell says "I hate communists" really big on the back with my business logo. And now I'm wondering, like, how do I need to incorporate fascists in this? If I just say statists, do I lose the kick? Like, is it going to still work? But the problem is that whether fascism wins or communism wins, everybody's still a slave.
So there's a couple of things here I want to deal with. First of all, I know Tac Daddy. Tac Daddy seems, I don't know whether he knows you or not, but he seems to not be a big fan of yours. So he says Tim would eat this guy for lunch. I guess Tac Daddy knows the Tim guy. And CB says Tim Kennedy said no to AR-15 with Lance Armstrong. And Special K says Tim Kennedy said people should not have any ARs.
Tim Kennedy is also a mixed martial arts fighter, so I'm not going to be offended if someone is going to point out that he could eat my lunch, if that was his term. I'm not foolish enough to think that if I was going to pick a fight with someone like Tim Kennedy, that it would be a fair fight. Tactics, mindset, tactics, skills, gear.
Yeah, and then Tac Daddy, and I'm trying to give him a voice here. He says you'd be surprised how many people you idolize in the male world. I don't know what that means. Would secretly believe in certain restrictions, and I'm not. So, I wouldn't be surprised. But
I agree.
I got a PM from somebody Hank and I know, and it says I served with the Tim Kennedy guy. Was a douche.
Oh, okay.
Not liked by many until he got out after very limited time to pursue MMA. Then the SF National Guard scooped him up for recruiting. I actually agree with this guy on Tim, I won't say much, but the dude is a douche. Just became popular because of the MMA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't even know
Wow.
who. I don't even know who Tim Kennedy is. I'm gonna have to look that up.
No, I had no idea either.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But you know what? I think okay. So the overall, let's focus on this particular point that you're making, right, Jacob?
Yeah.
And make sure. I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. You're saying that there's a lot of guys in the gun community, in the gun world, that say they believe in freedom and stuff like that, but ultimately they don't really believe in it enough, right? They have certain lines on where that freedom is going to go, and those lines that they cross into, sets them up to really be fascist, right? Because you're saying they believe in these rights for themselves, but not for other people. Am I
right?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is that we have confused supporting private gun ownership with supporting the Second Amendment. They are not equivocal. You cannot say that I support the Second Amendment, but so I would be happy to have a logical discussion with anybody. Really, I like discussion, and but just be honest. If you don't support the Second Amendment, start with, I don't support the Second Amendment because I believe that felons, rapists, and whoever else should not be able to own firearms. And we can start a discussion from that point that is honest and that is potentially productive if someone besides me is arguing.
Right.
But if you support the Second Amendment, the line is in the sand already, and you don't get to move it. It's there. That's what the Second Amendment is.
Yeah, so let me put it to you this way. I think that when people are having these kinds of discussions, everyone's on different levels. Okay?
Yeah.
And everyone has different levels of understanding. So a lot of times what I try to do, because even, for me, I like this kind of conversation, right? Because we learn. Maybe sometimes, like, maybe someone says something like that and they don't really understand what they're saying. I see this, like, the conversation you're talking about is people who say, okay, I believe in the Second Amendment, but you know what? If a guy was a felon and he's out there now, I don't want him to, I don't think he should have guns. And people ask me that all the time. I think the last time on this show someone asked me that was, I think that was Vince Sheffield, the guy who was a former ATF agent, and he was like, so you're saying you want these guys, this guy's a felon and he should have guns? And I was like, if the person paid their price, if they paid their debt to society, they should be able to defend themselves. Why not? If they didn't pay their debt to society, why are they with the rest of us?
Well, they're safe. They let them out of jail, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the answer here?
I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind on this because, you know what? In Florida, they're voting, and that was just a Democrat scheme. That was a Democrat plot to get more Democrat votes in Florida. And I want to shove it down their throat. I want felons, former felons, released felons, to have the right to keep and bear arms. F them. You know what? If one right is good enough to be restored, then the other right is good enough to be restored.
Well, I mean, and
Plus,
so shouldn't this question start off first of all, how many laws do we have, and what laws should take away your freedom from you, right? If you violate what law should you lose your freedom? So I don't know if anyone would argue this. We have too many laws. Okay, and then there's so many of these laws that you lose your freedom. Okay, so now you lose your freedom, you become a felon. You could become a felon for real easy things. There's for sure bad things in the world. So let's say you do something really bad, you become a felon, and at some point the system, whoever it is, decides they're going to release you. Have you paid your price, your debt to society or not?
It depends on the crime, but I think ultimately what the question for me is, what is the difference between a right and a privilege? So the government wants to have all of these laws, but they don't want to pay for the prisons. So we create this revolving door system of recidivism where you get out of prison, but now it's going to be harder to get a job. It's going to be, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. At the end of the day, rights are inalienable. They are God-given. They are not given by governments, which means a government can't take them, which means that felon still has his Second Amendment right to carry a gun everywhere that he goes and to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So either he needs to do it his own way, he needs to leave, or he needs to, I guess, decide to go belly up. But the problem is, legally, our nation is supposed to be bound by rights that are given by God and inalienable, which means if you aren't dead or you aren't currently being punished in prison, if you are free in society, they cannot be taken away or hindered to any degree.
Yeah, the thing that separates you from your rights is when you violate some law and then they say we're going to imprison you. Right, and so here on this panel, just so everyone, like for the sake of this conversation, do we even believe in prison? Do you guys? I'll start with Jacob. Do you believe in that? Like, and what do you think? What levels of crimes should people be in prison in the first place?
Ultimately, so every law is backed by the threat of death. And that is wrong because if I jaywalked and I'm not going to allow my liberty to be hampered because of it, and I resist arrest, and if they threaten to take my life, so I take theirs instead, that is death, right? That is, they're going to kill you. That's wrong. So there needs to be separation between what is legally punishable by death. So there are a lot of things. I don't believe in the prison system that we have, but I believe there has to be a system. There has to be governance. I'm not an anarchist. I'm a constitutional believer in the republic. And so I do believe in a system of punishment. I do believe in very harsh punishment. I believe in forced manual labor, in a system where nobody will ever want to go back because the majority of criminals are lazy and stupid. So if breaking the law to make their lives easier, in fact, makes their lives exponentially more difficult, they might find that the easiest way to get through life is through hard work and doing things the right way. However,
come on in.
Uber Eats.
And I do believe in the death penalty.
Right. Okay.
We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you murdered in cold blood.
Northern Command.
What is going on?
There you go.
Oh, I got a pizza delivered.
Oh,
Nice.
who is that brought that pizza over there making all that damn noise?
A buddy of mine.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We're having a very philosophical conversation over here. All right. You're on the show. Okay. So, sorry about that, Jacob.
No problem.
Richard Hughes. Yeah. Lola's gonna have a conversation for you later, Rich.
Uh-oh. Not the Lola talk again.
Yeah. You obviously need to have that conversation again. Okay. So I think you were making a good point. So you say you believe in the death penalty.
Absolutely.
And you definitely believe if laws of society are broken, people should have strong deterrents to that, right?
Yeah, but when a law is created, that needs to be taken into account. So, if I'm in Alabama and I'm thinking about making a law saying that it's illegal to keep ice cream in your back pocket on Sunday so that you can't steal horses by leading them away with ice cream in your pocket, it would be my responsibility as a politician who has also taken an oath to defend the Constitution to consider whether or not stepping on the entire populace and where they keep their freaking ice cream is something that should be punishable by death.
Yeah. Let's get let's get to Rich here on what you believe, just so we know that for the for the record here. Are you
For the
agreeing with what Jacob is saying, or?
Yeah, maybe I'm not quite as hardline, but I agree. Prison shouldn't be 3 hots and a cot and a color TV. I mean that should be. It should suck. It should be hard. So I think generally we agree. I guess the question: do you only put violent people in prison? Do you put tax evaders in prison? Do you put Michael Milken in prison?
I lost you for a second.
Wait, what happened?
I'm just wondering, the thought process for white-collar crime. And some of these white-collar criminals ruin more lives than murderers.
Right. Yeah. Hold on a second. I think we lost Jacob, so we're trying to get him back. We're trying to get him back in here. As soon as I get him back in, I'll let you guys know. Something might have happened to his signal.
Uh-oh, they got him.
Yeah.
The feds got him.
We'll get it worked out. We'll get it worked out here while you're getting your food and all that kind of stuff delivered. Yeah.
I got to shout out the squadron. We got squadron members in the house.
Oh boy.
We got Dark in the house. Got to shout out Dark because you gave me a shout out on your show.
Shout
and
out.
You're going to be on Dark's show.
Yeah. Shout out to Dark. I will be on his show after this. So let me know.
Do you have your blue chem light ready?
What is that? I don't know. No, I don't have it.
You're not in on the Dark crew.
Do I need? Okay, I guess I. Well, I'll find out about that when I go on his show. Let's see. We still haven't. So, Jacob, you probably need to try to come back in because your camera isn't working. Let me see. I'm gonna try to. He's Lola. If you could reach out to Jacob, tell. Oh, here we go. He's trying again. Here, let's see if we can get him in this time. If we can get. Come on. Get the camera working here, and then we'll get back into this conversation. No, still not working. So DLD After Dark says the individual's rights don't stop even during incarceration. It's only a separation of property upon release. They should have all their rights. Nothing has changed. Jason McDonald says stealing, yes, prison, which means the federal government should be in prison. So, yeah, and my thing that I would say about this is, I think that Jason is making a good point there. When we set up laws, first of all, we have too many laws in America, and this one of the things that somehow needs to be reset and go back down, to whatever smallest number, and then beyond some basic laws, we need to have an understanding that when these folks out there are making all these laws and adding all these laws to the books, they themselves have to be held accountable for those laws, right? I think we got Jacob back here also. Let me see. It looks like he's back, but he's frozen. Can you hear us, Jacob? No, you can't hear us. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because he was on a roll. I was like, wow, this guy's serious.
Man. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get this conversation going here. It looks like he's still frozen. So here's what I think. We make laws, everyone has to live by that. It's just like how they're giving us healthcare laws that are making our lives difficult, but then they have super awesome healthcare that we don't have access to. That's not how that should work, Yeah,
that's two-tier.
Yeah. Politicians, kids, and stuff like that getting away with things that we don't get away with, that we get smacked upside the head with and lose our rights and become felons and go spend time in prison for. That's not supposed to happen. These are some of the issues and the problems that we're facing in society that makes a lot of people, somehow feel disenfranchised in this whole thing. So if we're to me, we need to go back to very few laws. Okay, and then as we add on laws, there has to be responsibility, and everyone has to be held responsible for those laws. You can't have some people get away with that and other people, don't get away with that. Some special powerful people get away with it and other people don't get away with it. But yes, so now if you commit certain crimes, and we're like, okay, there should be certain heinous crimes that, to me, I believe in the death penalty, and for those crimes, we should completely remove you. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, then there's other things that are very serious, and you shouldn't be able to do those crimes and then just live a good life, like Jacob is saying. I think I could agree with that. You should suffer. Jail should be rough and difficult. I think it's the same thing that goes for, this is one of the problems that we have in America with welfare. I don't have a problem with welfare and helping out people who are suffering. I have a problem with people systemizing it and living off of it whilst other people have to pay for it.
Right.
You know?
When it becomes a lifestyle, that's not right.
Yeah. So, but this is the thing. But if you pay your price, if you don't die for what you did, and you pay your price to society, and we let you back into society, we have to say, I mean, come on, you've got rights. And even as I think it was Jason said, while you're in prison, you still have rights. Right? So, I mean,
I heard, I don't know if it's true, that in Arizona at some point during our nation's history, that if you served a long sentence, they'd give you like $5, which was a good bit of money, and a doggone cult peacemaker, and send you on your way.
Mm-hmm. Wait, where was this? Hold on.
I don't know if that's true, but that was Arizona, and stuff like that's kind of hard to find.
A long time ago they did that, or
yeah, like Wild Wild West, early Arizona history. I would love to be able to verify it or not.
Yeah,
but
so then we come back to the question. So ultimately we got into this because you said that, yeah, once people serve their time and they get out, they should, regardless of how we might not like the crime, but you know, and there's crimes I don't like, right? There's definitely crimes out there that people, especially if someone abuses a child, you know, a guy who's beating his wife, you know, there's just these crimes that are horrible, right? What Michael Vick did, I thought was completely disgusting, but I don't, yeah, if you know what he did to dogs and stuff like that, I don't think that rose to the level of he should like lose his life or shouldn't have rights and all that. And when he went to prison, he should have paid a heavy price for something like that. If we deem that to be a crime, which I think, being cruel to animals, obviously, you know, it rises to that occasion.
One thing that we need to consider, though, is if we deem a crime bad enough to send someone to prison, still, if they resist and do not allow themselves to be taken, the punishment is still death. Ultimately, that always has to be, and that's really hard. You know, for me, thinking about a smaller society, I would think about going more back to church law and dealing with things through the church, because liberty and morality to some degree are going to be intrinsically tied. It's going to be hard to make laws that value someone's liberty if someone has no moral value, because any crime that they commit that is not worthy of being killed for but is worthy of hard labor in prison for, if they refuse to be caught and are going to violently protect what they deem to be their liberty, they will get killed. And I absolutely support a police officer's right to protect their life. If someone's coming at a police officer with a gun, a knife, whatever the case may be, a deadly instrument, frickin' smoke them, right? But if you're going to tell a police officer that they can smoke somebody for doing that, then that is essentially making, again, the death penalty the ultimate punishment for any crime. So it's a hard. I'm not saying that I've got the right balance. It's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah. Richard Hughes, are you going to spend the whole show eating? I'm just wondering.
No.
Yeah, because you got like a whole pizza there that you're not sharing with the rest of us.
I know the squadron's complaining.
Yeah. So where was I was going to ask you something about? So you believe? Go ahead, Rich.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you don't mind. I've seen some cases where I think I don't know if it's New York City or San Francisco. If the person runs, the cops aren't allowed to follow them. It's like, really? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I mean, if a police officer has a legal reason to stop somebody, then they should have the legal protection to follow through with that stop. So, you know,
because I'm trying to understand what you're saying is that basically all laws, you know, if a cop is going to arrest you, is backed up by death. Now, do you feel that that's incorrect, or tell me what you should resist a certain amount and then the cop lets you go? And I'm just not trying to antagonize you. I'm just academically curious.
That's kind of the difficulty of the balance in saying that. So, how much can you protect the people's liberty and still have law? So for any law, if I say I have that ice cream cone in my back pocket and the police officer says, I'm taking you to jail right now, first off, I'm not going to jail. Second off, I'm not going to let the officer kill me. So that puts us in a hard situation, right? That is why ultimately every law is backed by death. But I think that puts the pressure on proper lawmaking on the legislator.
Yeah, well, so
and that's why we need less laws.
Yeah, let's talk about cops here for a second, or police officers, or officers of the peace, or whatever they are and where they come from. I mean, traditionally, these, like where I live, it's a sheriff, deputies, they're elected, you know, in lots of places they're hired by mayors or whatever. These are people employed by the towns, cities, municipalities that they serve, right? And they're supposed to be enforcing laws, and there's a crap ton of laws. So if these situations that you're going to get into are going to create these like dire circumstances, I think that's what you're saying, you know, you need to think of how many situations should they even be getting into.
Right. So my uncle Matt Truea wrote a book, The Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrates, going over Christian leaders' responsibility to choose the righteous law, to choose the righteous path as the first line of the judicial system. Whether it is you are the police officer on the ground, you are the teacher teaching a class, if the curriculum that you are given is evil, you can choose not to teach it. If the law that you are given is evil, you can choose not to enforce it. That's why sheriffs are so important. A sheriff is the only constitutionally legal law enforcement body in the United States. They are elected, and they should be working to preserve the people's liberty, but they also have to enforce the law. So, I don't even know. I lost my
so here's a question that I was going to get to this before I get to my question from Jason. I think I understand what you're saying there. He says, sure, but don't the police enforce plenty of unconstitutional laws to begin with? So I think, what do you think about that? This is another side of that problem, right? There's a whole bunch of unconstitutional things going on. In the way that you see the world, right? The way you think everything should be laid out, what do we do about that? What do we do about all the unconstitutional laws?
So police, as we think of them, are a constitutionally illegal law enforcement body that originally existed to generate revenue for the state or for the entity that hired them. And that's the first problem. And I know personally a lot of really good law enforcement officers, a lot of really good police, a lot of people who really do care about individual liberty. But that is not the standard. But so you are going to have. So the doctrine of lesser magistrates is talking about the Christian and moral duty of the bottom person on the totem pole who is enforcing anything to do what's right. And that's why it's so important as the little guy. In the military, as a team leader, your job is to lead your soldiers, to teach your soldiers, to command your soldiers based on the commands that you are given, but you also have to protect your soldiers and encourage your soldiers from the stupid above you. That's what a good team leader does. And the same goes for a squad leader. The same goes for a platoon sergeant, platoon leader. If they only care about towing to line for upper command, someone in the chain of command is a absolute dithering moron. Mm-hmm. Right? And the people below them have to mitigate the potential damages from that. So, what is the perfect example? You talked about responsibility earlier. Liberty and responsibility are intrinsically tied together. Most people will never accept the true concept of liberty because it makes them responsible for themselves. But liberty and morality are also together. So I have always obeyed every command I've ever been given by a law enforcement officer, and I obey every law that I know of. I am ashamed of that in many ways because I think that people who run a YouTube channel, people who have a bit of a following, the most powerful thing that we could do would be to come together, say all gun laws are infringements, and say, look, this was a pistol with a pistol brace. Now it's an SBR. I just made this SBR. I am now firing this SBR. I've hurt no one. I have damaged no one. There is no victim. So either the police can come and we can kill each other, or let's fix these stupid freaking laws. All right, so I'm actually ashamed that I do not own illegal firearms. I feel like it could potentially be a responsibility of mine to do something like that. But, responsibility, morality, liberty. Mm-hmm. The people who are afraid of any one in that list are going to oppose them all.
I think that's ultimately the thing, right? We could do a lot of talking about all this stuff, but if we're not ready or willing to take the action, to actually do something about it, and then willing to pay the price, and if there's not, and ultimately one person paying the price for it doesn't change anything, but right. More and more people getting up and going, no, that's it. If there's a price, try to make us pay it. I think that's where we change some things. Mm-hmm.
Gandhi has a word for how the individual has to sacrifice to create a change. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of the word, but essentially in his demonstrations, there would be no victim. He'd be making a point. He'd be fighting something that is legal that should not be. He would fight it by going to prison, by dealing with the punishments, whatever they were, and making a point out of himself. And then people looked at Gandhi and said, look, he didn't hurt anybody. He didn't do anything wrong. He's being tortured right now in prison for it, for a law that's not even right. And that's how he made change. And he said to make change, that's what you have to do, is personal sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And obviously it has to be visible personal sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a platform in which to share it. Now, the sad reality of where we're living at with big tech is the chances are if me and you and everybody else were like, hey, look at this SBR I'm shooting, I think probably all of our influence and reach would immediately disappear, our message would disappear, and potentially we would disappear. But you can't disappear 100 big names that people know without raising some flags.
Okay. Rich, did you want to jump in here?
Oh boy, I'm writing down points so I can remember them.
Okay.
First off, Gandhi is one of the people I find very interesting in history. He was a traditionally trained lawyer in England, so I don't know that a lot of people don't know that. And what I find interesting about people like Gandhi is how did they become who they are? How did they step out of the 9-to-5 Joe kind of role? Like, okay, here you're divorce attorney or your real estate attorney and become a leader of a movement that frees a country. That to me is very fascinating. Somebody else told me that the police, which I always think about the highway pirates because I do have an affliction with speeding. Somebody told me that the police were only there were created to return runaway slaves. That it was linked to slavery, and I'm not sure about that.
The police where are only there for slavery.
The United States, but I'm like, wait, there were police in England before the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we've had police for a long time. Yeah, I guess before police, in civilizations, who was enforcing stuff? Soldiers. You had centurions and stuff like that enforcing.
I think we're talking about the difference between the constitutionally sanctioned sheriff's department, which we've had since the founding of the country, and then the illegal formation of police is, I think, what he's talking about. And I have read a little bit about the first police departments, and I can't remember a whole lot. I can't remember when it started, when the first police force was enacted. But,
and ultimately, the reason you start it doesn't have that much to do with anything. I mean, police departments exist all over the world. We were talking about Nigeria in the beginning of this. I lived in Nigeria, lots of cops there, But there's a big difference between the police and the military, right? I think a lot of times especially in third world countries like that, you'll find that you have police and they have a job. Maybe they're directing traffic or doing something like that, but they tend the difference I think you find a lot of times here is those guys tend to be very underpaid, which I'm not going to say that policemen aren't underpaid here. I think they probably are also, but they're always looking for bribes and things like that. So it's not as it's not something you have to fear depending on your economic situation versus the soldiers. Like when they really want something done and enforced, that's when they're sending out like soldiers there and they have a mission to kill people versus in a lot of third world countries, cops are there, supposed to be doing something. It's more of like some kind of symbolic gesture, and that police officer is typically trying to figure out how to make their way by, the graft, so to speak, right? By getting people to bribe them. So, I think what cops have become today. So, for example, I live in the country. In my county that I live in, there's not a lot of cops. They don't spend a lot of time trying to catch you speeding. And writing out parking tickets and all that. They're patrolling a very big county. If something really comes up, that's what they're there to deal with. And those guys are typically underfunded as well, etc. Then in Gainesville, the main big town where I live, there's 5 police departments, and those guys are constantly up to something. They're always trying to catch you speeding. You ran this thing. You did this. You get a ticket for this.
They're writing college kids tickets for carrying open containers. It's like, really?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
So where's the line between? And that's where I live. We don't even have a stoplight in the entire county. So we've got like 4 sheriff's deputies including the sheriff, for a huge county, and then I think we've got 3 police officers for the local city, which most people wouldn't even hardly consider a city. And I love it. I really do. Now, as you scale up law enforcement, it becomes exponentially more expensive, and you have exponentially more problems to solve. And a lot of police officers in large cities make an incredible salary. Whereas in my town, paramedics and law enforcement officers, even with some government stipends, make less than like the people working the national park making trails or standing behind a cash register. So I mean,
unbelievable.
These guys are making like $14 an hour dealing with meth heads all the time
Mm-hmm.
and crime. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Gun Doctor TV said that he was a police officer in Kentucky. What did he say he made? Like $6 or $8 an hour or something?
Had to buy his own vest and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
We're Suffolk County. Last I knew, they were the highest paid police in the country, but I'm not sure if that's still true. And
Higher than New
they're
York
starting
City?
out. Yes. Oh yeah, New York City police, NYPD they make like half what Suffolk County PD makes.
Oh, wow. Okay. And where's that money coming from?
From me paying my damn taxes on this house I'm trying to sell.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
also
Go ahead.
how every county, city, and state spends money from tickets. When guns are confiscated, they're usually sold. Where that money goes, where everybody gets their money across different states, is all different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Huey Long, but Huey Long, every government employee and all of the law enforcement and everybody that he could, all of their taxes and money went directly into his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran Louisiana into the ground and was very nearly our first communist president in America. He was actually communist. An incredible thing to look up. Huey Long, the Kingfish. So in Louisiana at that time, where was that money going? It was going directly to him. Here where I live, I don't think that our sheriff's department, when they write tickets, I think they get like 3%. So they don't write tickets for stupid stuff because it's literally not worth the amount of work. It's a waste of their time. They've got more important things to deal with. It's hard when you need a lot of law enforcement, which every large city always will. It's going to be expensive. What is the right way in regards to liberty to fund that? And I don't have the answer. I'm just saying everybody does it differently. I'm sure that there's a right or decent answer out there, and I'm sure that most of the answers that are being used are not right.
Yeah. There's Lola, what's the name of that city that's close to here? Is it Waldo? That they disbanded the whole police department? Yeah, so there's a place here in Florida, not far, it's on the other side of Gainesville, called Waldo, and it was known, if you Google it, you'll see, Waldo was known as a speed trap. Very small town.
Okay.
Yeah, and the cops there it was a thing, right? They were out there catching, they had like these ridiculous, it would go from 55 miles an hour to 30 in like 2 feet or something like that.
You'd just be sitting there waiting, right?
Yeah, boom, hitting tickets. Yeah, they did it so much, and they got so much attention, and they got so sued, and all that kind of stuff that the whole police department got disbanded. It doesn't exist now. So there isn't that happening in Waldo, but also Waldo, the people who live in Waldo have no police department, right? So if something
they got
happens,
a sheriff's department.
Nope, they don't have anything. If something
They don't
happens,
have a sheriff at all.
no, if something happens, the cops have to come from Gainesville to go out to Waldo.
Wow.
Yeah, to deal with that. And that's because of what they did, and they drove it into the ground, and it came a point where they couldn't even get insured, because of all the lawsuits and all the things. And then the town was losing money because people were like, avoid this with your life. It was going out all over the country, and it was just completely detrimental. And there is a balance to everything, right? I think ultimately here, there's a balance to things, and I always tell people we're the ones who hire the cops. If there's too many cops, it's on us, right? If the cops are so bored that they've got to find reasons to give the people tickets and things like that to generate money, that's on us, So we're the ones that have to take responsibility of that because ultimately we're paying them. The idea that we pay taxes and we pay for these things and then we're not represented in there is wrong, but it's one of those things like, I understand what Jacob is saying. Hey, at some point we have to be willing to make a thing of this and get arrested, and I understand where there may come a day for that, but right now there's things that people can do about massive police department, right? And that is, if you live there, start finding out why the hell are these people. It's like Chicago. I think I was on Armed American Radio today talking about Chicago, and You know, look at what's happening in Chicago and everything that's happening there. They have massive police departments. Those guys get paid a lot of money. All that stuff is going on. And they're like, yeah, we have a violence problem and we're going to solve it by layering gun laws on top of gun laws. And then the criminals and the gangsters in Chicago could give two shits about that. Right?
Well, we're responsible not just for our police departments, but also for our politicians. And as long as the people keep thinking that they can vote their problems away and no politicians are being forcefully removed, there is no Second Amendment.
Right, because you're saying that's the point of the Second Amendment, right? For people to use that right to stand up and say, no, this person has no right to have any kind of governance over us. That's what you're saying.
You have to. I'm saying defend the Constitution against domestic enemies of the Constitution and Bill of Rights.
Okay. What were you going to say, Rich?
Well, yeah, pre-Revolutionary War, if they didn't like the politician or what was going on, they burned his frickin' house down. And I'm not saying that's the right thing and we should start doing that, but what I've always been trying to figure out, you know,
Jacob is making a face right now.
is the government should be afraid of us. They should be afraid that they're not keeping favor with us. And I'm not saying they should be at the threat of violence, but for some reason we get amnesia when we go to the voting booth and look at everybody in New York City. They just like, oh yeah, Big Bird, I like Bill de Blasio, I'll vote for him again. Or Cuomo. It's
well,
like, really?
ultimately, the truth of the matter is, we, all of us, me included, are afraid of the politicians. The politicians are not afraid of us. You know, if you look at, for last year, the entire year, politicians, some politicians were calling for cities to be burned down. Right? That happened all of last year, all the way up until, you know, someone decided to storm Capitol Hill, and then all of a sudden that became a bad thing. There's tons of investigations and all kinds of stuff going into that. No one's looking into it. Lots of cities are even releasing or dropping charges on people who were looting and rioting and stuff like that. And then these guys are still trying to find out who stormed Capitol Hill. And to me, it doesn't matter who stormed Capitol Hill. What you just said should be true, that they are not entitled to a sense of security and comfort, but instead it's the other way around. We're not mad about what they're doing. We're afraid of them. We're worried that they're going to change the gun laws and things like that. We're worried they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And we're not.
We shouldn't be able to do any of that. The fact that we're worried about that shows that we know that we've let it gone too far. And when it comes to violence, what I'll say is that every contract is only valid because of power. Period.
Correct.
No contract means anything more than the paper it's written on if there is not power behind it. And the bank has the power of lawyers, and we have all of these means to give power to a contract, but ultimately the Second Amendment says that if any of that fails, and if any of this if we cross this line at all, if any politician crosses this line, this is your answer. And politicians should legislate morally because they fear for their personal well-being.
So here's the thing. I think what we're saying here, we've said many times. I agree with it. I understand it. I don't know that any of us here on this stage are doing anything about it. Here's a question I want to ask. Where's the line? Where's the time? Where is it that we see the pitchforks and the torches and people in America get mad about it, right? And go, okay, that's it. We've had enough, and we're going to do something about this. Do you think there's one? Do you think we'll see that?
The problem is we're all waiting for a leader. Everybody loved Donald Trump because they were waiting for a leader, and he said he was going to do the things that they thought a leader should be doing. He said he was going to fix the problems that we are talking about, and that rallied people behind him. The reality, in my opinion, through psyops and through some of my religious beliefs and how government works and the ultimate direction that this world will take unquestionably is that for one, to take back that liberty is responsibility. And I believe that the bushcraft and survival that I do is as equally as tactical as the firearms training that I do, which is a considerable amount. And if you can look at the Civil War objectively, look at the humans and the people that were revolting. Start there and look at what they did with what they had. It was absolutely amazing because all of these men and kids went out with nothing, marched, had no training, had got very poor training, and they knew how to take care of themselves and live. Under Stonewall Jackson, at one point, they marched barefoot for 100 miles to confuse the enemy when they saw their tracks. Mm-hmm. Okay? We have been enslaved by convenience. Mm-hmm. And we have gotten to a point with technology where though that knowledge is dead today. It's gone. So how do we, to be able to change this, like we're talking about, you have to have a group of individuals that is ungovernable. There can't be anything that they hold over your head. And I do some videos about tactics on a large scale, on a government scale, talking about what the government wants us to do, how the government is going to manipulate the narrative, and how the fourth generation warfare that we have been constantly bombarded with lately is all a lie. It's a very shallow lie. It's impossible in America, and when and if war were to come to America in this way, it would be fifth generation warfare. And I need to go in depth into what fifth generation warfare is, but to make this simple, there's been a lot of YouTube channels that popped up during Trump's administration, got absolutely massive, and then disappeared. And what they were all saying is that the military is on your side, the number of guns that you own means that you can't be manipulated, and we will win this war. And it's just like fourth generation warfare, and the U.S. military can't even beat a goat farmer in sandals in Afghanistan. The lie is that the Vietnamese didn't win the Vietnamese War. The Vietnamese didn't win Vietnam. In fact, if you look historically at Vietnam, the existence of Singapore is proof that America won the war. But that's a psyop for another time. The Strait of Malacca is controlled by Singapore, which the fall of the Strait of Malacca was the reason that we got into Vietnam. But, okay, the Vietnamese didn't win Vietnam. We're not fighting Afghans in Afghanistan. The Revolutionary War was not won solely by Americans. In each one of these instances, another nation with political ties to the rebellion and with something to gain aided the revolution, which is why it won. Nobody's coming to America to support American patriots who are fighting for liberty. No country on this earth is like, it would be beneficial for us if everyone in America had liberty and the American government was forced to abide by its own laws, and we're going to support these American patriots because in every other country there is no liberty. There's no other light at the end of the tunnel. So an American revolution would consist of Americans. The problem with that is it would be the ideal scenario for our government. The absolute, if I'm playing chess and I am the US government, please come cut off the city's power. Please. Set up a roadblock on the city. If you don't do it, I'll do it for you. And I'll fake it and say that you're doing it. Because I'll turn the entire country against you instantly. You'll be the ones attacking and killing Americans and changing the American way of life. You'll be able to get no message out. And in your action, I, as the U.S. government, would crush the entire Patriot movement in less than 10 years, unquestionably. There's nothing better that you could do for them. So when does it happen? Our government is purposefully bringing people into this country and feeding the wildlife. The wildlife will never turn against them. We have a purposeful percentage of livestock in this country that will never rebel, and if they did, they could be so easily persuaded in either direction.
So hold on a second. Let's like you're using a metaphor. You're saying that a lot of people who are coming into the country right now, someone's going to say, okay, well, you're calling some set of people livestock or whatever. What are you trying to say? I don't want to put words in your mouth. So exactly
Sure.
What are you trying to say with that?
In Bowling Green, Kentucky, many of the factories are filled with illegal immigrants.
Okay.
I know people who manage there. We don't know how they get there. They don't have green cards. They're working the factories. They get free medical care. My friends that are managers there have to take them and help them sign up. They don't know anything except for how to get from where they live to work. They speak very little English, and most of their money they send home.
So
Where
there's
are
an
they coming from?
there's an organized
Right.
effort to bring people in, you're saying, and there's no organized effort to somehow document those people and then start to indoctrinate those people into the American way of life. You're saying basically
So
these
what are their
folks are
kids
just
gonna
coming
do?
in. Yeah.
Their kids are going to be used by our government. But it's not just these people. And a lot of these people, I will tell you personally, are fantastic. They don't know that they're being used. They are hardworking people. A lot of them are moral people. And yet, what is the 20-year plan? And this has been going on. This isn't anything new. Why do Democrats want the open border? Why do we want all of this stuff? We are creating a lifelong voter base, and simultaneously, through technology, we are creating lifelong dependency, and we are crushing individuality and people of an ungovernable spirit.
Yeah.
We are making ultimately a organized armed rebellion so purposeless, so weak, that if it doesn't happen, what I'm saying is the government will fake it happening to meet their ultimate agenda. What I
Okay.
consider livestock is people who will never turn against the government, people who will never think for themselves, who exist to make someone else money and will be slaughtered.
So basically, sheep. You're not making
Sheeple.
you're not disparaging people specifically. You're just saying, hey, yeah, these folks are being used. They probably realize they're being used, but hey, when you're faced, when where you come from looks like this, why wouldn't you take this opportunity, right? And even and at the same,
I'm saying it's been happening for forever, for a
been-
long time. That's been the target for any one of these groups of people who have been targeted for government assistance. That's the long-term goal from LBJ and before.
yeah. Okay, so let Richard get in here. Rich, I know you look like you're chomping at the bit to.
Oh
to
my
say
god,
something.
I got notes.
Okay, you got
so do you
notes.
think
All right.
January 6th was a psyop?
What's that?
Was January 6th a psyop? Was that a
Are you
government
talking
plan?
about
Just
what was
Capitol Hill?
January 6th?
Capitol Hill.
Oh, yeah. As far as I can tell, yeah. You know, I've got a friend who was one of the National Guard guys. Says that permits were pulled. You've got pictures of people staying within the fences, not going into other areas. Yeah, I would say absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. And nobody has been charged with sedition, which is what the Capitol Hill riots
right?
would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So if nobody's been charged with sedition, there was no sedition. I mean, you know, you look at who
Where
could
was
have been
the
Antifa,
where was the organized effort to take over anything? I mean, let's
Where are all
say
the weapons?
yeah, let's say some low-level gangsters were armed and try to take over something. It would have been more of a big deal than that. That was just that was basically some people stepped aside, some people went wild and ran through the halls. Yes, some folks died in that, but there was no actual sedition, no one trying to take over the government, nothing. That there was I didn't see anything like that trying to happen there.
The same thing happened with the Black Panthers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these things are used by our government to their means. And the same thing happened with Hitler in Poland before World War II. He didn't say, hey, we just went in and took this Polish radio station. He said, hey, the Polish just came and attacked us. This is a freaking declaration of war. Their military just opened fire on us.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have a good opportunity to spread a message to get what you want, you make one.
Yeah. And it's the interesting thing is, I mean, regardless of what you think about Trump, those guys who were on his side all of a sudden flipped. Everyone flipped after that.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we're in a completely different scenario. Okay, Rich, you had something else you wanted to? You've got stuff in your notes. I'll let you.
Yeah. So to dovetail with January 6th, the next question is: look, I'm one paycheck away from being on the street right now, and just because I'm carrying 2 mortgages. But these people have been held since January 6th. Forget about if they ever get convicted of anything or released or what. They've already paid the price. I mean, if they had a house, they don't anymore. Because, if you, even in a good time, if you put me away for a month or 2, that's it. I'm going to be losing my house.
Yeah. Well,
that's just crazy.
For one of the things I could say to you guys anecdotally, like one of the things that's happened since COVID and a lot of things happening here is there's people, not super wealthy people, right? Not people with millions of dollars sitting in bank accounts. There's people who maybe had enough money to have, let's say, more than one house, right? And they because they're trying to build up, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna rent this house out to someone because that's what I grew up and everyone taught me. Your values in the real estate, and this is what you could do with it. You rent it out to someone. Now that person's not paying rent. You can't evict them. What are you supposed to do in that situation?
And that's why I'm selling.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who basically he had just one house, and he was going to get a job somewhere else. He went over to that place and didn't sell his house. He rented it to someone while he was waiting to see what was going to happen. Those people in that house did not pay rent, and he had to keep paying a mortgage, and he can't evict them. So he had to leave his job and try to come back and deal with that whole thing. And it's a nightmare for him, right? Now he's renting a place. He can't get his house back. He has to pay the mortgage. One day he was telling me, I'm going to burn that house down. I was like, dude, why would you do that? This is what they want you to do. So now you become a criminal.
Right.
So,
no one's doing anything for him.
They want us to be serfs. They want to move to a rent-based society. But a big part of this is ownership. To get back to liberty, what is liberty? If you own something, nobody else has the right to take it or use it or do anything with it against your will. If you own yourself, the same is true. So if you don't own your stuff, and if you don't own yourself, are you not a slave? You might have some freedoms that you have been graciously granted,
You're at least
but you have no rights.
Yeah, you're at least an indentured servant. You're at least an indentured servitude. This is one of the things that happened, like in Guyana, where I'm from. There was slavery in Guyana, right? It's the Caribbean. It's technically South America. It's the Caribbean. There was slavery there. So one day it was a colony of England, and England decided no slavery anymore in any of our colonies, right? Guyana's one, no slavery anymore. But guess what? They still needed slaves. So they came up with this thing called indentured servitude. And what they started doing is, since they couldn't make the African slaves, right? They started putting Indians into indentured servitude. That's how my mom's people wound up over there. And a lot of those folks were the people so England was running India, right? And the Maharajas and stuff like that were there in India, they were constantly fighting with other, let's call them tribes or whatever, right? Or sects of people. And those people wound up getting arrested, shipped off over here. Any way that they could catch you and catch up to you, they'll ship you off over to Guyana, to Trinidad, Jamaica, different places in the Caribbean, and it became indentured servitude. And a lot of people think it's something different. It's no different. It's just a name.
That is where we're headed. And when we go to a rent-based society with this new communism and feudalism, that's exactly what you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want, that's part of what we are being led into with COVID, with everything else. Cool, my house has tripled in value. That's great, right? But if I sold my house, could I get anything? No. And can I afford to build on it? No. Can I afford to freaking do anything? No. But they want to move people out and away from ownership. It's all about control and ownership. And you can be owned without knowing that you're owned. As a Christian, I want to add, you can only have one master. So there can be no nation, entity, or anything else above God. You are owned by God. Everything else is crap. So what does that leave you with as a Christian? You better figure it out, but it's not where we're headed, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. You know what's weird? Something that I saw that happened with a lot of businesses. I'm not going to say all businesses. Did anyone notice how quickly businesses, very early in COVID, gave up all their properties and sold everything?
Yes.
I mean, it was like that. I've never seen that happen in anything. And we had 9/11 and businesses and go, you know what? Everyone's going to work from home now. And this particular thing, COVID, they're like, it's just going to be a couple of weeks, a couple of months. Why did businesses immediately go, that's it, we're selling all of this, we're out?
If a government can force businesses to close, what does that mean for your government?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean your government is? These are hard questions because we are raised to believe that America is free, that we are free. We don't ever learn what freedom is. We're not taught true history. We're taught a bunch of crap every single year, but we don't question it. I now call myself a recovered nationalist. All of my stuff was red, white, and blue. My favorite doggone color. Right? Mm-hmm. But for one, as a Christian, that can't be the case. Now, for two, can I pledge allegiance to the Republic? No. What is freedom? And how do we have it? Can we make it? It's not going to be living in a serfdom. And a lot of nations have constitutions. A lot of nations have firearms rights in their constitutions, like Canada, right? Mm-hmm. Do the governments give a piss? No. If the people are not willing to remove the government or to use their firearms rights, then they have no firearms rights and they have no rights whatsoever. And the reality is that I would say the second that we accepted government education was the second that we lost the Second Amendment and our rights.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that under Jimmy Carter, the, what is it called? The Department of Education?
Frickin' Jimmy Carter.
And I think we went from third in the world in education to like 20th in a couple of years after
There's
the
no
Department of
competition
Education.
in education in America. There's, I think these guys are trying to get rid of. We have very little competition in medicine in America. All these things that count. When you take away competition, then for sure, you have slavery at the end of the day. You definitely have socialism. You're approaching.
I say that America's been socialist since 1989, when hospitals lost the right to refuse service based on the ability to pay. I have a friend who was a heart doctor at the time, and he said that overnight the price of a heart surgery quadrupled. So we could have lived in a society where you choose your doctor's office like you choose your McDonald's, and if you don't have a job and you need a heart surgery, you could go sell a couple extra bags of weed and go pay in cash.
Yeah. Well,
That is affordable
Well, that's like
healthcare.
LASIK.
Yeah.
Yeah, the example they
I
use
just
is
got
laser eye
LASIK
surgery.
2 weeks ago. I got LASIK 2 weeks ago. I paid $1,000 for both eyes.
Yeah.
Which that used to be like 5 or 10 grand, 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing. It's competition. It's capitalism. It's free market. It's amazing.
You know what's one of the weird things that happened that I saw this happen? New York City, all over the country, there used to be nursing schools. Remember that? Remember nursing schools? And people got out of high school and they didn't really want to go to college, but they're like, okay, they'll go into nursing school, and it wasn't, did it for 2 years or something like that. You're a nurse. That went away. Now, literally, to become a nurse, we're talking like master's, doctorate level degrees that people are getting. And we're
It's
wondering
awful.
what's happening in healthcare. Oh, because you don't really have nursing schools anymore.
Yeah, if you look at healthcare, if you look at the growth of the number of people employed versus the number of doctors that we have, the number of doctors, the growth is so small that it's almost linear, and yet the health industry as a whole is so bloated, it's just going through the roof. Now, I lived in Germany, and one of my girlfriends got out of high school as a nurse. She learned it in high school. She was like 17, boom, went straight to working at a hospital. And the hospital is going to tell you that you're going to learn 98% of your job on the job anyways.
That used to be here. That used to be like that here in this country.
Exactly. So I hate insurance. I hate all of these systems that we have. People are like, oh, you need insurance to protect yourself. They don't exist to help you. They exist because they make money. They're a business. Save your own money or find ways to pay for things. But all of these things in America, that all these socialist programs, everything, we've become a imaginary money society, which I'm sure we could talk about that more later. But it's all parasitic, and we're running out of meat to be eaten by parasites, which is when we're going to get into some really extreme stuff.
Yeah, and I think this is the same thing that we see in education. There's no competition.
Absolutely.
There's no competition of teachers. You're not really seeing people being motivated to become teachers. What is it? The teachers' unions have taken over everything. Imagine we had this thing. Let's say we put aside COVID and the fact that it was bullshit, and we went through that for over a year. Here was a massive opportunity to reset the education system in America, which is now actually lagging behind third world countries.
So when I was
Seriously.
growing up in private school, teachers made their curriculum. Now everybody's talking about teachers don't make enough money. Teachers don't make enough money. You don't make the curriculum. You hand out papers and you grade them. You're not a teacher.
Right.
You're a grader.
But they're not even teaching kids. Like, I remember even when I went to school, the teachers didn't care how I solved a math problem. If they said 2 plus 2, okay, that's 4, and I could show how 2 plus 2 is 4, it's all good. Now it has to be, well, x plus 2 plus 3 plus this equal, and it's like, what the hell? It's an exercise in confusing the living daylights out of you. I remember taking tests, and they're like, we don't care how you come to this conclusion. Show us. If you show it, they'll go through it. Okay, yes, you showed it. Good for you. You know, now my kids, I remember mine are in college now, but I remember them in high school showing me math problems, and I'm like, wait a second, this is crazy what you guys are doing. It's the easy way, and they're like, no, you have to do it this specific way. You know, there is no
Well, the
following a
education
logical
system,
thought.
right? The education system should teach people how to think,
Hmm.
not what to think. And so instead, by having government education, we have, uh, again, it's our responsibility, like everything else we've talked about. We have allowed uh, we have allowed our children to be watched at a daycare of indoctrination
Hmm. Yeah,
instead of become educated.
yeah. The
Because
end
it's
is
easy, because we believe we need two household incomes, because believe we need two new cars and a big house and everything else. We already pay for our kids to go to school through property tax. Just send them off and let, some man thing read to our children in the libraries, like whatever.
yeah. The end
I'm
is
not having a
near.
bar of
The end is
The end
near.
is near.
Has a good point here. He says, sorry this goes back to early in the show, but the whole prison thing nowadays ties into the stop of mental hospitals, mental asylums. Now most of those people are in prison/jail or the radical left.
Or they're in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Or they're freaking getting voted in as politicians.
yeah. Without a doubt, you know, I don't think you have to be. I mean, we're talking about a whole bunch of different things here within the time frame that we have. But, you know, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to realize that there are people pushing. It's like they're pushing the end. You know, they're pushing a breakdown. You know,
Order through chaos.
yeah. And and I say to the people out there who are looking for a reason to snap, don't do it. I don't know what your personal philosophy of this is. I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that I keep working, keep pushing forward, moving every day. I stay away from cities and stuff like that as much as I possibly can. I try to have real, actual relationships with people where we interact in the real world and do things. And you know, I know they're pushing people. I know at some point there's going to be a break. And to me, that's the best opportunity. For them, it's a massive opportunity for them, right? They have the real guns. They can talk about gun control all they want to. No one ever talks about taking the guns away from the military or the government. No one's having that discussion. So those guys are going to have access to all of that. Things might not necessarily go the way they want it to, but sometimes you have to step back and you have to observe and you have to wait for things to happen before you jump in there and start doing things. Does that sound crazy or?
You're on the money. The only thing I want to say is that every great tactician and leader has found a way to win by thinking outside the box. Mm-hmm. And the average person right now who's waiting for the break is planning for the conventional concept of war or revolution. And if you think inside the box, you're in the kill box. You are doing what they want you to do. We have to find an alternative. I don't know what it is, but we have to think outside of the box. It's got to be something new, and we need someone to figure it out pretty freaking quick.
Okay, what do you think about that, Rich?
Well,
you know,
and I agree with him in a lot of things. So the interesting thing that I find, whoever thought that Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter would be controlling our thought and our speech? Because I was like, oh wow, it's just a cool way to communicate with people, or it's a cool way to search, or it's a cool way. But they have now taken that tool by thinking outside of the box, and they're controlling us. Whether with Google, if you do a Google search and it's the autofill, they're presenting you potential results that you're going to click on, and that's like, instead of really going for what I was thinking, it's easier to just click on that. And they're actually controlling your thought and what information you see.
Oh, absolutely. The things you search for. There was something that came up today. Let me see if I can. Oh wait, did we lose? Did we just lose? We just lost Jacob again. Okay, we'll get him back. There was something that I searched for today, and I'm going to tell you why this came up. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Here's the story. Let me see if I can share this story. I'm going to take this from New York Post here for a second, and let's see. Let me see if I can get this up here. Okay, so check out this story. Transgender BMX rider for Team USA reportedly vowed to burn U.S. flag on medal podium. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. I'm like, how can the U.S. Olympic team say, yeah, we're going to have this guy represent us?
Yeah, so let's go to this.
I don't care.
So here's the thing. Let me just read out the story for people here for a second. A transgender woman who once vowed to compete in the Olympics so she could burn a U.S. flag on the podium has qualified as an alternate for Team USA's BMX freestyle event at the upcoming games in Tokyo, was revealed. Chelsea Wolf, a 28-year-old Florida native, Florida man, beaming with pride in a photo shared with her 7,700 Instagram followers on June 12th, announcing she was named as an alternate on the team. I am positively a different person than when I set off on this journey, and I'm so grateful for every experience along the way, and I'm so excited and honored to keep working, so I'm ready to shred in Tokyo in case I'm needed, Wolf wrote alongside a photo of herself smiling through a helmet. And then it goes through all these things. So this is someone, it says she made her intentions clear last year in a since deleted Facebook post about why she wanted to qualify. This is to Fox News, reported on Monday. My goal is to win the Olympics so I can burn a U.S. flag on the podium. Okay, this was written March 25th, 2020, alongside an article about how trans girls should be treated as biological males in school sports. This is what they focus on during a pandemic, hurting trans children, and it goes on to whatever craziness. So I haven't seen Jacob come back in here yet. Now, here's the thing. I would like people to try to do this search, because I was going to say, like, my whole response to that thing, I was like, you know what? Let's search, let's Google and see in what countries, right? What are the countries out there that it is illegal, like homosexuality or whatever is illegal? And I try to do this search, and it would not pre-fill it for me. Google would not pre-fill this search.
All over in the Middle East.
Yeah, I know that.
You know, in Iran, they're pushing you off buildings.
Yeah. Now, I'm not agreeing with it. The point I would make to this person is you hate America so much that you want to burn a flag to make a point about America, and America is a place that allows you to be what you want to be and do these things. But the weird thing is, and here, I'll try it while we're live on here. You know, which countries have laws, okay, against, let's see how it stopped pre-filling.
Wow.
You see that?
Wow. So if you said guns, just make it guns.
Yeah. Okay. Stuff is popping up. You know, that's weird. This is the level to you know, that people are going out there to control people and thought and what they're doing. And it seems like a weird, crazy thing. And my point is like, hey, if you think America is so bad, how about you try Syria? You know, how about you try Lebanon? Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is, it's kind of, you know, the U.S. is basically the hollaback bitch, because our country will get tread on by, you know, Google, Facebook, whoever, all of the big social media companies. But, you know, all of the big social media is kissing Chinese butt, because they want that revenue from China. They want to be allowed into China because of the enormity of the population, and they know if they don't appease the Chinese government, that they're going to get shut down. And they have no fear of the U.S. government shutting them down here. So they'll just trash the U.S. all day long.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing that you know, this is what's happening, and I think we're just on this path. I don't know if we're going to get Jacob back here. I don't know if he completely lost his internet or not. And we are running into the 9 o'clock hour also here, I noticed. So we started a little bit late. Let me just, everyone who is hanging out with us right now, would ask you guys to smash the thumbs ups. We appreciate that.
I got a couple of bullet points
Okay,
that
cool.
I'd like to go over. So
Rocket.
one of the things we didn't talk about is civil forfeiture. So that's a big freaking deal. And with the police forces just seizing your assets for no reason and it making it tough to get them out. And then they made laws against civil forfeiture, but basically the federal government can keep the money. So it can't be the state, it could be the federal government, and then the feds kick back half to the state. So that's just crazy. We're talking about incarceration, and Judge, I was going to say Judge, Sheriff Arpaio, Joe Arpaio in Maricopa County, he made the prisoners eat bologna sandwiches, wear pink underwear, sleep on army cots in tents in the desert. I'm like, that's how a jail should be.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it shouldn't be easy.
so
It shouldn't be easy
I'll
for
try
you
my
to wind up
list.
in there. It shouldn't be easy for you to wind up in there. But if you did something that we think, hey, this is a bad thing to society, you have to pay your price. Your price should be dear. It should be something that you remember. And
Yeah.
if we let you out, we have to realize that you paid your price.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
So two things they kind of tie together. The question I always ponder intellectually is when to boog. At what point do you grab your guns and go out for battle? And maybe I'm the biggest wimp in the world. I'm coming up with never. For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say I'm not tactical and ready to boog, but yeah, I don't.
Well,
maybe it's
even
too
if that was
soft.
the case, it's not tactical to telegraph your moves before you make them, is it? So when folks
Well,
are out
sure.
there trying to go, oh, where are you guys? You should, how come you're not getting your guns?
Yeah,
What are you
the
talking
founders
about?
would be stacking bodies by now.
Yeah, bad boys move in silence and violence. Take it from your highness. That's the Ten
And
Crack Commandments. You gotta. Do I need to pull up the Ten Crack Commandments again? I don't know. I'm just checking. Hopefully everyone knows about the 10 Crack Commandments. Yeah, real bad boys move in silence and violence. You don't ever predict your moves like that, And the most tactical thing you could do is observe. I'm not saying don't fight. You have to fight. There's situations that come up that people have to fight, and you need to be aware of when your life is in imminent danger. But if it isn't, you don't need to put it there.
And one of the things about revolution, and I don't mean that in an overthrow government way. I mean that in changing the philosophy of how the government interacts with its citizens. I think somebody like Gandhi or MLK are the people we should look to model. And maybe I'm still thinking inside the box. That one of the things that changed with MLK is they'd go to the steps of the courthouse and gather and talk about their issues and have rallies, and they'd get roughed up by the cops. And then the day they showed up with rifles on their back, all of a sudden they didn't get roughed up by the cops. And I'm saying maybe that's a paradigm for us. I'm not saying run around armed necessarily. Of course I have a CCW, but in New York I'm disarmed. But I'm saying that's kind of a paradigm to think about, is that if they fear you, then you get respect.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. Listen. The reason why I say peace all the time, and I'm taking that for me personally from Si vis pacem parabellum, right? If you seek peace, you must first prepare for war. It doesn't mean that you have to be, constantly in a state of war. But if you want peace, you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared
Right.
for the war, for the fight to keep the peace, And ultimately, if you want to live a good life, and I think it's what we're all looking for, you have to be prepared to fight for that. But where and how do you fight for it? Like, do I go to San Francisco to fight for it? Do I go to Portland? No, I don't think so. No, everything, charity begins at home, and all the good things begin at home. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your friends, your community, your neighborhood, the people around you, your state. Those are the places that you could be more effective, and we don't need to save everyone. Some people need to go down the drain. Right?
Could be. And
Yeah.
so one of the things I keep meaning to talk about on the show when I'm on your show or other people's show is the change needs to start with us, and whether it's a school board, whether it's you getting elected to the school board or you getting elected to dog catcher in your town, people like us with our thought process need to get into the government. We can't make it, just the bastion of the left really rain down upon us tyranny. That's got to change.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And the only thing I would add to that is sometimes there's someone else that you identify that's like us, that you're like, hey, everyone can't be the leader. Some people have to be the followers. You identify a good person, you're like, are you willing to run? Yes. Okay, I'm going to help your campaign.
Right.
I'm not even just in money. I'm going to get out there and help you make flyers and connect to people and manage it, or
Right.
drive
Get
you down to
signatures,
where
whatever
you need
it
to.
is.
Yes, exactly. We need to help get that person there, and then maybe we go, okay, now I'm going to take my run at it or whatever. We need to do it. Ultimately, America belongs to all of us. There's there's nothing else other than that. You're an American. You're an American when you realize that you're an American, and this is something important that we need to fight for. That's what makes you, to me, a patriot, right? When you realize it and you start fighting for it. So.
And actually, Joe 13C, he's in politics now, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got elected.
Yes, he did.
So we got one of our guys out there.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Absolutely, and we need to keep growing those numbers. Okay, so listen, I don't know if we're going to get Jacob back in. I think it was a great conversation. We're going to need to get Jacob to come back here and probably, I want to take a look at the sling and do some other things here. And we're going to do that. I would, once again, let me see if I could just put on here, I think I can go to Beachin Tactical and show you guys. This is the website here, Beachin Tactical. All right, he looks like he has a Facebook. He has the speed sling and a whole bunch of different cool things here. I actually met him through American Gun Chick, so shout out to Brickell as well as Joe from American Gun Chick, and I encourage you guys to check out Beachin Tactical and support him in all the different things that he does. I'm going to leave it up to my friend Richard Hughes to tell you guys how you could support him as we're getting ready to wrap up here. You guys need to smash the thumbs ups while we're doing this too.
So I guess if you don't know, I'm on John Crump's show pretty much daily, so you can find me over there. I'm going to give a shout out to, let's see, Shooting Gallery New England. So every once in a while I'm doing his show on Monday. And Hank is going to be on DLD After Dark in, 15 minutes or so.
Yes.
That's always a good watch. So I'm pimping everybody else but me. Of course, FlyingRich.com or YouTube.com/FlyingRich. And on the grams, because I am not FlyingRich, some dirty rat is, and it's not me. I'm FlyingRich_official.
Yeah, is that person at least flying rich? Is that a rich guy that's flying, or
I have no idea.
Or someone just
won't
jacked your
He
name?
won't accept my friend request.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, yeah. Someone just jacked you. Someone just jacked up your thing. Yes, I am going to be DLD with Dark. You guys will see me. I'll be over there for at least an hour hanging out after the show. So thanks for everyone hanging out. It's been a great, crazy day. I've been on the go all day. I did a live earlier today. I know Rich was trying to get in, but he couldn't get in there. But I appreciate everyone who
I'm
was on
bandwidth
that.
challenged.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate you trying. Appalachian Gunrunner was on there. He says great show tonight. And lots of people enjoyed the conversation actually. So big thanks to you guys. After that, I actually was on Armed America Radio with Mark Waters. That was cool. And then I was running around. I was trying to get some stuff done with the van. Did this show that I'm doing DLD After Dark. This is how days go sometimes, and I still feel like I have.
So wait,
energy.
DLD, his channel, is it DLD or is it Darklight Dugan? Which one is it?
Is it DLD After Dark or something like that? He was saying. I have no idea. Lola is going to give me a link after the. Lola says it is.
It's DLD After Dark and it's StreamYard. You gotta
Yeah.
log in.
Lola says it's DLD After Dark, and I guess he's using StreamYard. Swamp Dog Armory says, y'all check out TUSC too. Yes, check out TUSC as well for all the folks out there. And Swamp Dog, I guess he's 19 subs from 100, so there you go. Richard Maunder says, good show. Shooting Gallery says great shows. Thanks, Rich. There you go. Okay, so listen, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna run in the end, and then Richard Hughes, you're gonna give us the words of wisdom on the way out. I'm gonna run the end in right now. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs ups, all that kind of good stuff. We're going to rip the audio out of this and put it on your favorite audio podcast like iTunes, etc. So big shout out to everyone who listens to us around the world and here in America. It's DLD, David, Larry, David. After Dark. I don't know the military things. That's where we're going to be right after this. Rich, what are your words of wisdom?
My words of wisdom is bring your blue chem light to DLD After Dark, and that's Delta Lima Delta.
Oh, look at you. Oh, you're just showing off now.
Pilot, you know.
Yeah, thanks to Barnauls. We're out of here. I'll see you guys over with Dark. We're going to do it now. Peace. We're out of here.